What are the best marketing techniques for small businesses in 2023? What trends should small businesses and marketing professionals be paying attention to? And of course, we have to talk about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. We're going to talk about AI basically every other week on this show because everyone's using AI differently, and I want to know how they're using it. John Mediana is joining me today, and we are both here to answer your questions live. If you have any questions, just throw them into the chat. If you don't have any questions, then we're just going to continue to talk about marketing, and hopefully that will be helpful to you as well. John, welcome to the show. It has been a long time. I've known you for a long time. You filmed my proposal video to my wife.
Sure did. And did your wedding photography.
And did my wedding photography. What are you up to these days?
Bro, I mean, other than just helping raise my two boys with my wonderful bride, not much. Oh, except for marketing and running an agency and all that stuff. But that's like second to the first job, which is my favorite job, which is being a dad and a husband. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true. I have not seen you in person since you had your kids, by the way. And by the way, a lot of my friends, because my wife and I don't have kids. So a lot of my friends that I knew before we had kids, I have not met their kids. It's so weird.
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird. I mean, and it doesn't help that we moved to the South.
This is true.
Which is Nashville. I'm born and raised from LA, the hood,
Yeah.
So like it's a different vibe. And we've been out here for like almost celebrating 2 years now. So it's been a minute, but that also didn't help. It also didn't help that I like moved to Vegas for a couple of years too.
That's right.
That's
right.
So there's reasons, right?
Yeah, there's reasons. And I'm in Colorado now. So everyone's moving out of California. So we're just all ditching California for whatever reason.
Everybody left. The great exodus. I think about 200,000 people left all in like 8 months. So.
Which is crazy because you and I were both born and raised, right? You were born there?
Yep.
Same here. Yeah. I actually was born in West Covina too.
Wait, what hospital, bro?
Queen of the Valley.
Queen of the Valley. Shut up!
Yes.
Bro, are we twins?
We are twins. I think we're twins, dude.
What year? What month?
Oh, 81.
Okay, yeah, 81 too. No, I'm just kidding. 87.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way. I know you're younger than me. So you've got an agency. What does your agency do? What are some of the things that you guys work on?
Our agency is called Executive Brand Growth, and we really focus on helping CEOs get into the creator economy with video.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a really needed thing too. You guys must be really popping off because of that.
It's busy, man. It's busy, but like I'm just grateful because I got a massively talented team, and I couldn't do anything really without them. They're the ones doing the work, and I'm just here looking like a goof.
Dude, you've been doing video ever since I met you. You were doing video, and I met you. Let's see, I was probably 27.
16 years, maybe.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was 2008. I know it was 2008 for sure.
Yeah, dude.
I had to remember that because of my proposal. I had to remember my year that I proposed.
Yeah. So it was a little bit before that because I knew a little bit, just a couple months or maybe a year before that. I'm not sure.
It might be, yeah. When we started planning the trip we were going to go on.
Dude, that was wild. That was the most exciting proposal. Thank you for letting me be part of that, bro. That was. I remember.
Are you kidding me? Okay, so I got to describe this to the listeners because this is. What I did was John and I were on a missions trip together. My wife and I were on the missions trip as well. We were not even engaged. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend at that point in time. And I told the people there that I said, this is kind of a really impactful trip for us. This is the first missions trip we've ever been on together. We're going to be in the Dominican Republic, and we had like a free day. And so I said, that's the day I'm going to propose to my wife, and we're going to go to the beach and everything. And John and one of our friends, Luis Comas, they grabbed the camera, and I go to walk off with Jessica to propose to Jessica, and they're like army crawling around. They're like, yeah, it was awesome. It's the best video of all time.
Yeah,
it's so good. So you've been doing video forever. So you are the person to talk to about video. And I think for some of the questions I have for you, your answers are going to be people should get into video.
Yeah, I mean, simply put, get on camera.
Right, exactly. Make yourself known via camera. We'll talk about how to do that a little bit too, because I think we can get into some details since you're such an expert on it. Yeah. We can get into that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this. The show this show here is for two types of people. It's for small business leaders who are looking to better themselves in the marketing arena, but it's also for marketing professionals. And so we're gonna just go through both of those kinds of audiences. Now you work with big time CEOs of probably mid-sized businesses or even large companies. I work with a lot of small business leaders.
Yeah.
Um, let's
I
talk
work
about the
actually with
best.
small businesses though. I work with mid to large size, but like
Yeah.
I got a big heart for small businesses,
Yeah.
man.
But I mean, small businesses are like, yeah, and they're so fun to work with too, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah.
Scrappy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, what are the best marketing techniques for small businesses? I'm going to divide this up into three different groups because small businesses there's a lot of variety amongst
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
The first is
Spectrum.
solopreneurs. Yeah, exactly. Solopreneurs and those who are selling their expertise to others. So you could be consultants, or it could be you doing an online learning course or whatever that looks like the solopreneur type of framework. There's e-commerce businesses that have a pretty simple sale, but they're going to sell via e-commerce means. And then there's small businesses who have a little bit more of a complex sales process and will have a sales funnel and sales people, or the business leaders themselves will be functioning as sales. Um, so let's go through each one of those, starting with solopreneurs. What do you
Yeah.
think are some of the best techniques right now for a solopreneur?
Man, I have a lot, but I'm going to talk
Mm.
specifically to actionable,
Yes.
practical techniques, because everybody that you look up online are going to try to sell you something. And they're going to say, listen, small business owner, are you a small business owner? You're not making $10,000 a month? Well, hey, for $27, you can join my course lifetime. And here you go. We're going to hit you with this. And once you pay, you don't have to buy
Yeah.
ever. And you'll get your money back. So this is like silly to me,
Yeah.
where it really just boils down to one thing. And that's the thing that the gurus don't want you to know that they're already doing is that if you're a small business, 1000%, you have to practically do this. And it's document the journey and tell people stories.
Mm.
Stories is what's going to drive growth in your small business.
Mm.
Stories. And Jay, you're the master of stories, obviously. You know this. You'll break them down. I watched the Indiana Jones. I was like, dude, I'm fired up. Jay, breaking it down, man.
That's right.
Like I love it because this is marketing 101. And I think today in this really cluttered, noisy internet web of misinformation, the small business owner needs to go back to the roots of what actually worked biblically and ancient practices,
Mm.
and that is storytelling.
Mm.
If you can get good at storytelling, and I'll go into how you could get good at storytelling, but if you can get good as a storyteller, you can sell. And I know a lot of small business owners, they didn't go to small business to become a salesperson or a marketing guru. They wanted to go because they loved something that they did and they served a purpose. They found themselves in a niche. They're like, I do art for a living and I just make people paintings, or I make these really unique shells and I sell myself on Etsy, or I'm this small business that I just happen to do it because my dad did it. So like they go into the business because it started from, well, I kind of just had a thing for this, like I'm passionate about it. And they didn't really go into it to, they had to learn businesses. That's why about 20 to 30% of businesses fail the first 2 years of being in business. But once they get past that, they're like, oh, this could kind of be a thing. They didn't realize that they actually had to learn marketing. They had to learn how to, make a product development and sell. Like they didn't go into it for that. But here's the thing. If you can become a powerful storyteller, that means if you could compel someone with stories, then that's going to be a lot easier for you to leverage, to draw people's attention, compel them to be like, this is what makes you different as a small business owner. You could have 2 coffee shops. One's a mom and pop shop, a small business owner, and you got Starbucks, right next to each other. And this is a dilemma that I've actually seen, and I've worked with a lot of coffee shops in the past, where it's like, dude, I can't spend Starbucks. They own the market. Why would I even decide to open up a coffee shop? Well, let me ask you this: what's your story? Right? What's your story? Why did you get into coffee? Why do you want to serve people? What do you love about your coffee shop? I just love meeting people and talking and hearing their story. Coffee shop has always been a place for me to kind of concentrate, do my work. But I also want to create this vibe in my coffee shop. And here's the thing: Starbucks can't do that because they deal with numbers, right? So they're like playing the defense mode, which is the top of the mountain mode, where they got to spend so much money in marketing and all this other stuff to stay on top. But you're just getting like this liquid, water that's just like sugar and stuff. But if you actually understand story, you could go and compete with a Starbucks next door, and your local community is going to absolutely swarm because of the story and the person, the persona that you are. They're going to be drawn to that. So That's number one, lean into story. And how you do that always and often is document, right? That's why I believe every social media guru, what they fail to tell you, they're going to tell you, you got to do this. You got to be on TikTok. You got to do all shorts. You got to do YouTube's blog. You got to do blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, well, what did they do? Right? They're trying to sell you something. What they did is they always, for some reason, every guru I've ever met and I've ever worked with, by the way.
And you've met a lot of them and worked with
I've
a lot of them.
Man.
Yeah,
Gary Vaynerchuk's to the Lewis House to the Shailene Johnson to our friend Sean, right?
Yep.
They all have a podcast. It's so weird, dude. I'm like, when are they going to start talking about their podcast and how like podcasting? Because this is what happens, bro. Podcasting forces them to communicate better and get over the fact of I'm being on camera or I'm telling people I'm using my voice. And the thing is, like, start your podcast as a small business. You don't even have to publish it. Just practice the communication and storytelling. You're literally going into the classroom of storytelling when you're able to prop something up and say, I'm going to put 40 minutes on the clock and I'm just going to talk about our process and why we do what we do. I'm going to talk about how we developed our product, what makes us different in the industry, what makes us different in the market, what stories I love, the people that I've helped using my product or service, right? Like that is a powerful tool and that could be repurposed and distributed everywhere, but it has to start simple and you have to have a process and system that's repeatable and get past the whole, I don't want to set up, I don't know what camera to buy, I don't know how to set it up, I don't know, just do it. And you do it once and that's it. And it's repeatable and you get used to that process. It's like hitting the gym, you know?
Yeah. So. I love that. That's a really good answer. So I'm going to double down on the storytelling and say that you can also tailor that story around how what you do makes an impact, right? So every good story is going to start out with the person was in place A. Yep. They were going through all this turmoil. I came in to help them. And then we came up out of that thing and we came to place B and now they're doing great. You know what I mean? So I think that you can add your expertise in a storytelling framework to make it then seem like it makes sense at that point, right? Like when you say like the people are starting podcasts. Why? Because on a podcast, people actually get to have the length of their engagement as it grows. They get to add details about what was going on. And when you add details, I think what happens with your audience is they start to trust you more because they go, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. And I like what they're saying. I know a lot of the contracts I've gotten from strangers were because I was just blatantly honest with them. I wasn't trying to sell them anything. I was just trying to say, they would even come to me and they'd go like, hey, I've got these other couple people that are telling me that they can do this. Can they do that? And I would say, maybe. Only if this is true or only if that's true. What do you guys think?
Your experience, man. Like I honestly, like, bro, like you said it. I think a lot of people, their BS meters at an all-time high, especially with like this noisy market. Like everybody is making all these promises and they're over promising, under delivering. And that's why a lot of people get burned. And like, they're like, I hired a marketing guy before and it didn't work. I hired in-house marketing team. I hired a social media person. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. It's because like, yo, first of all, like you didn't ask the right questions. Like, you know, if I hired somebody, I would ask a lot of questions and be like, all right. In fact, I wouldn't even ask them questions. I'd be like, all right, here's this, make this thing a video or a story for me. And you got 24 hours. Like, I want you to demonstrate to me what you could do. And like, that's one thing that actually like propelled our agency is because we didn't ask for permission or like, you know, sent a proposal. Like before we even sent proposal, we literally my whole team would research our prospect or client and then pull content that they already have living on like YouTube or online. And then they would chop up like 5-10 micro videos. And then we'd be like, hey, before we, you know, jump on our call on Wednesday, we just wanted to give this to you. You know, like we brought value before even them even coming onto the call because we really cared and we were like obsessed with the client journey. Like we were obsessed with having that person understand the difference that we make in a really crowded market.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say, because I have another colleague of mine that I work with. Shout out to Alora. Alora also does a lot of short form video for people. So she's focused primarily on short form.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that is its own science. Like if you don't really understand how to do it, like for example, I have a very minimal understanding of how to do it, and and by the way, I think it's also very I think it's also fairly difficult to do well.
Yes.
It's easy to do them. It's difficult to do them well.
Yeah.
And so working with somebody like you or with somebody like a Laura is like the perfect kind of situation because you can basically come in and go, this is what you got to do. This is the story. Here's the story. And here's how we tell that story in 30 seconds. And then the next story comes in after it. And this is how we tell that story in 30 seconds. Like that's ideal. So that's really cool.
And I love this conversation too, because it's like, all right, I know we're talking about like, marketing trends and like what's the latest things, but if you got to reverse engineer it and understand how did we get here in marketing? How did we get here? And it started with the Gutenberg printing press, right? The newspaper, and like they printed the Holy Bible. Like that was revolutionary to communication. It was necessary, right? The press was necessary. They printed newspapers, and then the radio came, and people had to sell through just the voice and just sounds and jingles and like getting stuck in people's head and be like, oh, I need to buy from them. And then magazines came, and then TV came, so people have to sell through like these 30-second. I love going back to the 80s and watching like 80s commercials. They're my favorite pastime hobby, bro. It's so funny to watch because it's like that existed. Like that's insane. Marketers had to figure out how to capture people's attention and hit them with a call to action with a direct message. And then direct mailers came out and all this other stuff. Then social media came to play. And it's like, all right, now you got to sell not just using audio, but now video, but also you got to do it in a 60-second time frame. And then it's sped up to 30 seconds. Then it's sped up to like 7 seconds. Then I did a whole experiment back when I was in the agency world working with Las Vegas, where we had to sell people an idea in 3 seconds, like 3 seconds, micro vertical videos. How do you do that? So now it's just, it's the same kind of game, but a different format. You know what I mean? Like you got to understand hooks and attention and like what creates retention, what gets people to stay on, and understand. And this is what I love about podcasting, because people actually invited you to welcome them into the most intimate place as possible. That's listening to them.
Yeah.
Like listening. I'm at the gym and I'm reading, I love audiobooks and I love podcasts and stuff. I'm inviting this person to speak to me in the most intimate way, and I'm giving them permission. And that is a unique, powerful gift. And that's why I absolutely advocate and love podcasting.
Yeah. So I have so many questions for you about this, but let's go through these other couple questions, and I'm going to come back to that question because I'm really intrigued by that. So you've got Solopreneurs. I've got to tell you a story about how I got to where I am, and my expertise. I'm going to work that expertise in so that you can show up to whatever I'm doing and be convinced that I'm the right person to work with. When we switch over to e-commerce businesses, we are dealing predominantly with products instead of expertise. Storytelling is still super important, but how do you change the story there? And what do you change what you're doing?
My favorite stories is Harmon Brothers. Harmon Brothers had to do this. Like they're huge in the story writing, funny humor. They did the poopery. They did the purple mattress. They did the squatty potty.
No way.
They're the guys that were behind. They were the minds behind that, and Sasquatch, and like they were the minds behind these iconic kind of commercials. And here's the thing: like if you're in e-commerce, study these comedians and commercials, because people will be number one. If you're in e-commerce, it's such a saturated market where you have to instill trust so fast. Right. And with the psychology, if you don't understand the consumer behavior or psychology of consumer, I'll break it down into 6 steps for you. And then I'll explain how the Harmon Brothers utilize this. Right. So let me break down the 6 stages. Right. So, and then this because it looks like a funnel, and that's where we get marketing funnels from.
Right.
But if you don't understand it, then you can't, you won't know how to implement it into your business or e-commerce. Or this works for every business, by the way. So it's not just e-commerce, but it's more powerful and more of a challenge with e-commerce because you got to play within the rules and then break the rules. Right? You got to understand the rules before you break them.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing we learned in art school, by the way. So the 6 stages, and I'll just break it down so
let's do
fast
it.
for your
Let's do
audience here, because
John Mediana came to preach. This is the best of all time. If you're not listening, I don't know what is going on.
So I'll break it down for you. So the 6 stages, it starts with number 1, awareness, right? So that is like, how do people hear about the product, right? So like, I don't know if you ever had someone stop and be like, yo, I was just listening to this one podcast, it's so hilarious, or man, they were dropping this dimes, you got to go check it out. That's awareness. Someone telling you about the product. That's the power of word of mouth is still the most prominent marketing tool today, right? But there's also other ways to bring awareness. There's outbound marketing and inbound marketing. Inbound's my ultimate favorite. That's when people go find you and you're searchable, and they're like they're looking for something up, and they stumble upon your content, and then they like consume 70 pieces of content until they're ready to say, all right, I need to buy something now, right? So like, but the outbound marketing is more like paid advertising and like, advertise like commercials, Super Bowl commercials, all that stuff, kind of like disruptive, very disruptive pattern, and you got to have it's a science, when it comes to outbound marketing. But so the 6 stages goes awareness. You're creating multiple ports of entry for people to find and discover you. That's why when I'm like, if you're going to launch a podcast, distribute it everywhere, because you have no idea who's listening on what platform and where they're consuming your content and where it's being shared. You want to give your one piece of content the absolute most chance to get seen and create different ports of entry to understanding, to getting to that digital handshake, right? Oh, this is where I found you. Someone recommended it. Oh, someone shared it on LinkedIn. Someone reposted it on their stories, right? Something like that. That's how always really like 70% of stories start like, I saw it from this person, this trusted source. Right. So the next stage after that, number 2, is discovery. Once they find you and once they're aware about who you are in your business, your e-commerce, they're going to go into discovery mode. This is where I love the word and the term I use is social proof, right? So they're like Sherlock Holmes, dude. They put on their hat and they're like, I got to go on their website. First of all, they'll go on your social medias to see if you're relevant. They'll see when the last time you posted, what's your consistency, your frequency of posts. This is all micro decisions that they make. This is the consumer behavior. And you don't know this. This happens in like milliseconds, really, before they click off. That's why it's so important to have social proof before you even pay money for spend money on paid ads as an e-commerce. You want to make sure you get all these things stacked up before you go spend money. In fact, I would say waste money, because you're like, oh man, I was hoping for like 2 or 3% and I got 1% conversion rates. There's a reason, because you have no social proof. No one's talking about you. You have no testimonies. You have no reviews. I dare say Amazon is the worst designed website on the planet, but it's the most money-making website because they are showing you pictures and they're tagging that with real life reviews. And the power of social proof is what urges people to buy. How many people reviewed it? How many people bought the product? How many stars does it have? I want to see pictures. I want to see user-generated pictures, right? So they put all this stuff psychologically, literally psychological gymnastics. Amazon, Bezos, what they did to us, right? Same thing goes with Mark Zuckerberg, but man, he's not from here. He's like an android, dude. But does that make sense? Discovery, that's social proof.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
3rd stage, right? This is where it gets really good. Consideration, man. Like when people go on the e-commerce journey and they make a consideration, they're like, okay, I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to heart this one. And now it's between these 2 products, right?
Yep.
So when they do that, consideration happens with, do I have more facts? Do I have more information? Are they answering my questions, right? So this is where your demonstration videos come in. This is where your testimonies, user-generated content comes in. This is where your FAQs are locked in. Are you answering, like, what's the price, right? People want to know how much it costs. Like, is this price worth it? Even if it's above the normal price, is the quality, like, why is it more expensive than this? Like, there has to be a reason, because of value perception, right? People not necessarily want the cheapest thing. They want the best bang for their buck and make sure that it's going to last them, right? So you got to go through consideration. And the last stage is where, not the last stage, but the 4th stage is where marketers really ruin everything, right? So we go from, remember awareness?
Yeah.
So they go from awareness all the way down to this 4th stage, which is conversion. And they skip out the middle part and they cut it out. And they're like, And then they tell their clients, right? If you ever hired a ad agency or marketing agency, they're like, 2% is normal, 3% conversion rate's normal, my guy. You know, you got to put in $10,000 a month because it's a numbers game. How many times have you been told that?
All the time. It happens all the
All
time.
the time. I'm just like, dude, I'm wasting money. What's going on? There has to be a better way, man. There has to be a better way because they skip the middle stages of the psychological journey, right? So, but if you follow the stages, you're going to do really well in e-commerce. And then it doesn't stop there. The last two is really, really important. After conversion comes relationships. What happens instantly after they make that purchase? After they put in their credit card, do they get an email? Do they get a thank you for purchasing? Here's your tracking number. What happens? And that split 24 hours, that gap will determine whether or not they have buyer's remorse or not. I'm telling you, that's the most underrated thing that you can do is instantly respond. Set an automated thing saying, thank you for shopping with us. Thank you for purchasing. Your package is on your way. This is how it's going. This is actually how Papa John's took over, Papa John's and Domino's. Domino's actually took over a lot of the pizza industry because they built in this software that shows you, oh, they're cooking it right now. Oh, they're doing this right now. Oh, Steve's on his way to drop it off right now. So their stuff isn't actually, they're not in the pizza industry. They're in the technology industry. Right. So if you ever seen Ugly Delicious on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
He did a thing, I think, either on Ugly Delicious or something, but he did it on Domino's. Fascinating episode. You should watch it. It's fire.
Oh, that's awesome.
It basically talks about how Domino's became a tech company. And then the last stage is the thing that every single business absolutely needs and desires. And this is something that my dad taught me when I was 9 years old. When he launched his small business, he was a machine owner. He was a machine sharpener. He sharpened carbide tools. And like at 9 years old, he told me, son, the best customers are returning customer. So always write them handwritten letters and do like all the guerrilla marketing and stuff like that. So the last stage is retention, right? Are they coming back? Are you giving them something, a reason for them to stay and keep on buying at your e-commerce store, right? So those stages are basically the core fundamental journey of the buyer. So if you take those things and implement them in every stage, what we're talking about today, from solopreneur to e-commerce to scale, right? So think about that. I just want to give that nugget to your listeners and the audience. If they did not know about that journey, now you do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. It always comes down to the power of your marketing is going to be defined as a funnel, and the funnels aren't always super clean, and they don't always go like in like a normal funnel where it goes from wide to narrow. Sometimes it goes from wide to narrow to wide again because people go back into the search process before they come back to you again. So the funnels look different. However, the points in the funnel all need to be addressed, because what you're basically saying is something I tell my clients all the time. I'm going to, because I work as a fractional CMO, which means I come in and I help businesses understand where their marketing is even at to begin with. And it's usually non-existent, by the way. There's usually very little of it existing at all.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I'm like, what? You're a multi-million-dollar company. Like,
yeah, exactly. Or their marketing is really, it exists, but there's no strategy around it, right?
Yeah.
And that's great, because I that's what I do. So I can come in and help you figure that out.
There's always business for you, bro.
There's always business. Exactly. But what I'm always trying to look for is, okay, just like you're talking about, at this part of the funnel, what are the metrics that we have available to us, and are those metrics in alignment with where we need them to be, or are they way out of alignment? And a lot of small businesses, if you and I were to go in to a bunch of small businesses today and we were to assess their funnels and we were to say, like, let's put data in the funnel, there is at least one portion of the funnel where they are just losing entirely, and they just don't even realize it. It's like they don't realize that I don't have the reviews, or my reviews are really bad because of some sales I did before. Maybe you had a bad employee or something, and the customer service wasn't good. Think of how many reviews are on Amazon of people who never even used the product. They were just like, I got it and it was a mess and I hate everything. Or people who like will go to a restaurant, the server was so terrible, we just left. They didn't even try the food, right? Like,
so funny enough, competitors troll other competitors. Like, I see this happen all the time. They'll literally send bots towards their competitors to downrank their Yelp or their Google reviews and take them out of business. It is cutthroat.
That's messed up, man.
I've seen some horror stories.
Yeah, that stuff is horrible. It is horrible to see some of those things going on. But to your point, like we'll go through the funnel and see like where is the funnel not working? Is it that? And a lot of people I talk to, what happens is they don't have a funnel. They get business because they did tell the story well, but they told it to their network.
Yeah.
Then they've exhausted their network and they go, okay, I've exhausted my network and I have no more leads and I'm going to go out of business if I don't get new customers.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes in. Okay, we got to get people into the top of the funnel and that stuff, sometimes that stuff takes a lot of time too. It depends on what kind of business you have, depends on your sales cycle. E-commerce, you can turn it around faster. But if you're in a kind of a smaller complex sale, it might take 6 to 9 months for you to turn that into incoming business.
Oh yeah.
So it can get a little bit challenging. So okay, we've got storytelling. That's especially true for solopreneurs, but also true for the e-commerce folks. You just gave a bunch of examples with the Harmon brothers.
Yeah.
And then you're also talking about making sure that they understand their funnel and understand what parts of the funnel they need to address that maybe they haven't addressed before.
Yeah.
So that's true of both, but especially as they start growing. I love the way you're laying this out because as they grow, as they get a little bit bigger, as they add products, you added a little bit more complexity. Yes. So where are we going next? For small businesses who maybe even have a sales team, what do we need to add at that point?
Yeah, so if you're a small business and you have a sales team, you have, oh man, I'm just reading this phenomenal book. If you read it, it is called They Ask You Answer.
I have not read it. Ooh.
Bro, read the book. It will. I literally, before we work anybody, I'm like, I'm going to give you with this book. Just read it and then come back to us, because basically this, if you have a sales team, I've had sales teams in our company, right? In fact, there was a season where I was trying to scale the company and I hired a bunch of inbound sales team. I hired friends. I've hired people. I did massive interviews. I've had tons of sales team. Then I got rid of them all, in months and realized I'm like, wow, this isn't really, working out solely because I needed to marketing and sales in today's world. And I'm gonna explain it like this before I say like exactly what I'm talking about is kind of convoluted now. So companies think that marketing is sales and sales is marketing, but they're two separate departments and they have two separate functions, right? And the difference is that marketing needs to develop content so that your sales team can thrive, and your sales team is supposed to use that content as leverage so that they could create their sales process a lot better, so they have more people in their pipeline, they get to talk, they get to use some case studies. But the thing is, sometimes companies don't have enough content and the salesperson is just literally bottlenecked and struggling so hard because he's calling 200 people a day, and he's getting 200 no's a day. And the thing is, like, people haven't found the proof or the content yet. If your company hasn't made in-house content or have any content online, this is what you need to do. Start answering the frequently specific questions that your sales team gets whenever they get on calls, and turn that into video content and put those out everywhere. Put it on your website, put it out on blogs, put it out on your YouTube channel, because I guarantee you, if you got videos out there, the people are going to already make their decision of working with you before they get to your sales team. And your sales team could actually have a great time closing them because they're already familiar with your company. And this is actually something really fascinating in psychology. It's called the mere exposure effect, or the familiarity effect. Okay. Yes. The more times people see your brand, hear your voice, see the CEO, see the salesperson, talk about what they're doing, their product, their service, what makes them stand out in the market, and answer all the specific, micro, tiny, frequently asked questions, it will make your sales team rant and rave and be excited to show up to work and be excited about your sales team should be celebrating every time your marketing team or you are posting content online, because that gives them an opportunity to have a conversation. And here's the thing, conversations convert, period. The more conversations you have, the more opportunity and likelihood you can convert. And if those conversations happen before you even get on a call, the higher chance you might actually close deals.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just talked to one of my new LinkedIn friends. I had him on the show 2 weeks ago.
Sweet.
Timothy is his name, Timothy Byland from Upscale, and he was telling me that he uses a video sales letter. And so
Ooh,
after he has a sales call, he will send a video out to those folks. And I
ESL,
went,
baby.
that is a genius idea. It's a genius idea because what it does is anything. This is what always happens to us, right? We get out of a conversation, whether it's somebody we've already sold to or it's a current customer, and we go, oh, I have an idea, or I could have answered that differently, or I just came up with a solution to that problem that we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
What better way of showcasing to them that you care about their problem, that you're thinking actively about ways to solve it, even if they're not a customer yet, than doing a video sales letter or a video to them to say, you know what? I wanted to let you know I was thinking about this, and here's
Yeah.
something that we could try. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Really, it has increased the show up rate to our calls back when we were having a sales team. Even today, is that right when people book their call, we'll send them a personal video and say, "Hey, thanks for booking a call," and then say their name, you know, Jake or John or Josh or Shelby, whatever. Be like, I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to our call on Wednesday, and then 24 hours, we'll send a 24-hour reminder. Be like, "Hey, Shelly, we're really excited to jump on a call tomorrow. Can't wait to be there. Here's some questions and some things. If you haven't seen this video yet, check it out. It'll just tell you more about our company." So it's like a company kind of video, kind of demonstrating our history and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, they're excited to show up on the call, and they're actually already 80 to 90% way there to the sale, right? So like,
Right.
it's like people, I think what's revolutionary in the sales is actually going back to the ancient relationship building mechanisms and patterns. Is like, there's a human being that needs your help, and if you saw them not as a number, but as someone that you could serve and someone that you could really nurture that relationship. And it really just depends on also your business core values. Like for us, we're built off of relationships. Everything's relationships for us. So that means we're going to triple, quadruple down on how we could build better relationships. In fact, we even have a position that's a client obsession leader, right? Where they're literally obsessing over how we can help solve our clients' problems, or even before their clients, how we could solve their problems. Again, demonstrating how we could pull and do all this research for them before they even show up and be like, "Hey, we made a ton of stuff for you. Check it out." Like, we're not asking you for anything. I just think it will help you. And you haven't probably thought about doing this, but here you go.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because a lot of times there's some work that is not done by marketing agencies. And I work with various marketing agencies, right? Because as a fractional CMO, I have to come in and solve problems for my clients. And one of the things that very rarely happens with agencies, I'm glad you're saying you do it, is that one of the reasons they need me is because they actually have no clue what's wrong. They know that there's a problem because they can see their pipeline, and their pipeline is not full. And they go, oh, okay, the pipeline's not full. We've got a problem. Sales have dipped. We don't know why. Something's happened, and it's not working. I work with a lot of startups. It's like, I don't know why we can't sell anything, right? It's like a bunch of stuff like that. And the one thing that if you go to a lot of agencies, what they'll start talking about is they'll go straight to tactics, and they'll be like, oh, well, you need this, and you need that, and you need this other thing. Yeah. What they very rarely stop to do, though, is to go, well, where's the problem in your funnel? What is it that you actually need help with? What are you telling me that there's a problem about, right? I have one client right now. I've worked with this client for about 6 or 7 months now. Love working with them. Fantastic client. Very difficult client, though, because they've changed their business model. And what they're trying to move to is like starting a new company. And so now it's like, well, if I didn't have a relationship with them that I've developed over the last 7 months, they would have been like, hey, you're out the door a long time ago, buddy, because there's no results. But of course, what I'm trying to do along the way is go, okay, if that's where we're going, then we've got this other massive problem we got to solve over here, and that's going to change the way we do things. In fact, you need to stop thinking of yourself as a small business and start thinking of yourself as a startup, because you're starting a whole new idea, and it's a whole different tactic that we're going to take over here on this side. And you don't get there if you don't listen.
That's right.
You don't get there if you don't take the time to understand where they're coming from. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's not cookie cutter. Because like it's a different. I love CEOs. I love visionaries. Some of them they don't have one idea. Sometimes they have a million idea, and they're like, this one's going to make me $1 million. So we're going to pivot our whole company right, that we've been building, and we're going to rebrand it, and we're going to call it this because, like, they got shiny object syndrome sometimes.
Yes.
And then you as a marketer, CMO, are like, let me just remind you where we need to focus our energy to see the results that you told me you desire to see.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And it's almost like like they're your kid. You got to like kind of like bob and weave and keep them in the lane and be like, I guarantee you, if we just focus on this for the next 12 months, we're going to see success. Like, are you in?
Yeah. Or sometimes you have a client where they actually do need to get into a new lane. Like the old lane is not the lane that they should be in. And then you've got to know, like, okay, is this a kid I need to keep in his lane, or is this a kid who he'll never get to be who he really needs to be if we don't push him in a certain direction? You got to know like which one is which and how to do that.
And your job is to be that brutally honest voice in the room, the adult voice in the room saying, hey, you might actually do better in this lane because you're really skilled at that. And that's where the market's pivoting.
Exactly. That's exactly right. In fact, I am oftentimes that voice. Because you have to be at a necessity. Okay, so I have great answers to those questions, phenomenal stuff. I have one question for you. This is almost more a philosophical question than it is a business question, but it relates to business a lot. So we have seen. Let's talk. You went back through history. We're going to go back through history again. Storytelling has always been a part of good marketing.
Yeah,
like you said, like you started out with saying, that story sometimes has fads or trends that occur alongside it.
sure.
The latest one I've seen, which I find kind of fascinating, is that a lot of marketers are winning based on shared value sets as opposed to the viability of their product. So, for example, I'm going to give you a couple of extreme examples. It's going to be controversial for everyone watching. You might go out and say, I'm a patriot and I have a Trump flag in my yard, and that's why you should buy my widgets, right? Don't buy them from the Joe Biden widget guy because Joe Biden sucks, right?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Or, you should bank with me because LGBTQ plus is the best thing ever, and so you should bank with me. And so we're almost selling to people not based on the viability of our product or service, but based on the value system. How do you as a marketer tell the difference between I'm doing product marketing, I'm doing just value-based marketing, and when do I lean on either one of these things, or do I ever lean on one of those things? Like, how do you come to terms with that? Because I see this a lot, and I see people getting it right, and I see people getting it wrong, and I see people selling a ton of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you're selling a ton right now, but at some point, if you want to grow even further, you've basically told everybody who doesn't like Trump to go pound sand, and now they're not going to ever buy from you.
Yep.
So good luck with trying to convert them. So what do you do here?
Yeah. So this is actually very this is not new, right, in the marketing space. In fact, there's a great phenomenal book called Marketing is Warfare. Go check it out. And I'll break it all down for you so you don't have to read all the pages. But basically, it is the timeless principles of marketing, and they boil down to 4 different strategies in marketing. And what you're talking about absolutely falls into any one of these strategies. And a lot of marketers will be like, oh, marketing is complicated, it's moving target and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, for amateurs, let's talk about this. Because if you actually studied marketing, there are 4 strategies, and you could put every business in every category, whether they're polarizing or not, or they're riding on trends or not, right? You could put them in 4 different categories, and I'll break it down. And I mentioned it earlier in this episode, but the number 1 we call top of the mountain. It's called the defense marketing strategy. Defense marketing strategy is when you think of the best shoe company, what do you think of?
Well, what pops into my head is Nike, but Nike. I don't know why.
When we think of like burgers and fast food, what do you think of?
Well, California boy, so I'm going to say In-N-Out.
Samesies, but we'll just say McDonald's because
we'll say yeah, Big Mac,
global, right? Top of the mountain, the 1%, right? The people that, if you're not Apple, like Apple's the dominating kind of brand, right? So when you think about defensive moves, when it comes to marketing, they're the ones that their strategies to spend more than their competitors, right? Their competitors, like, this is why Nike spent $1.3 billion in 2022 in marketing, right? Because they are outspending their competitors. No one could touch them. They have to defend their title when it comes to the top. Now, the second one is offensive strategy. Offensive strategy, you would think, would be the companies that want to dominate and take the top, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Offensive strategy is this: I want to win everybody that does not want to buy with Nike, right? If you're not Nike, you're the Adidas.
Yep.
If you're not the McDonald's, you're the Burger King, and your messaging is, we make char-grilled burgers, never frozen.
Yep.
Have you heard that in their messaging or their commercials? So you got to understand the position of your company in the marketplace, right? Are you big enough to spend billions of dollars in marketing? Then you're probably not top dog. If you're trying to be the alternative and say, I don't care who's on top, I just want to collect all the people that don't want to buy from Apple. They want to buy with Windows, right? So I'm a Windows-based user, right? So the third type of marketing is my favorite. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But the fourth one is called guerrilla marketing. And this is what I see with a lot of small businesses, fitness trainers, solar panel companies. They know that it's a $1 billion industry. They don't care who's on top. They don't care who's on second. They just want a piece of the pie. So they'll do anything when it comes to marketing. They'll do mailers. They'll go door to door. They'll spend advertising dollars on Facebook, minimum base, right? So they'll do all these things. Like they'll do network. They'll do all kinds of things. I see a lot of businesses utilize those tactics. Not saying that doesn't work. You just got to understand and have a brutal honesty with where you are at with your marketing strategy. Are you using guerrilla tactics? What does that mean? And what is available to you if you're using guerrilla tactics? Now, my third marketing strategy is my ultimate favorite, because this is what Netflix did to Blockbuster. This is what Uber did to the taxi industry. And this is what Airbnb did to the hotel industry. It's called the flanking strategy. Flanking is a war term. If you're familiar with war movies, my wife loves war movies so much. But every awesome war movie, you have this gigantic army, and then you have the little guy, the underdog, right? They don't got the same numbers. So their strategy is not like the big army strategy is to just completely shred the opposing enemy because of sheer numbers. So that's their strategy. We're just going to come at you. We have more people than you. It's just a numbers game to them, right? So that's the big dog strategy. The flanking strategy is, if you're not the top dog, if you are the Netflix, you find an open gap where the blind spot of your enemy, which for Blockbuster, it was the frustration of you as a user showing up to the store and them not having your tape. Remember that? I would come and I'd be so disappointed because they never had my DVD. They never had my VHS tape. Right. And I had to go home with a tail between my legs and a bag of microwavable popcorn. And but what did Netflix?
And a movie you didn't want to watch.
In a movie I didn't want to watch. I'm like, oh man, I gotta watch Free Willy's for the 15th time. But the idea is, like, Netflix was like, how do we solve this one irritating problem? The first Netflix model was mail in the DVD and then we'll mail it back to you, and then you just return it 6 days, whenever, keep it as long as you want, just mail it back and we'll send you another one. So they solved one really irritating problem. And then they went to Blockbuster and said, hey, we'll sell you our company for $55 million in 2001. And Blockbuster was like, who are you? Like, right. Blockbuster had 200 retail locations across the nation. They were a top dog. They were the 1%. They were defense. They were the biggest rental company. Right. That's crazy. Yeah. And then Netflix was like, hey, we'll sell you what we got. It's really cool because we're solving a problem. And then Blockbuster was like, no, I'm good. Yeah. And then what did Netflix do? They were the first ones to introduce streaming or on demand. Right. Yeah. And then they not only introduced it, they changed a whole entire industry. In fact, they put Blockbuster out of business. And then that small gap that they found, that one annoying thing, they found raving fans, and those raving fans found more raving fans. And that completely took Blockbuster by storm. And they took over the mountain, therefore defeating their enemy or big competitor with little to nothing other than solving people's big, audacious problem. That is frustrating. So if you are a business and you are trying to grow and you're trying to figure out, should I polarize myself by speaking to this base or this base or this base? Number one is figure out what your marketing strategy is. Do you have the funds to be in defensive mode? Then just sheer money, just throw money at it. It will solve the problem, right? Are you in offensive mode? Are you like the second, best? Like, who are you in flank mode? or are you guerrilla marketing? So if you can answer that, it doesn't really matter. You could polarize or follow a trend. It does not matter, but you got to understand what strategy are you going to operate in, because once you focus on that, you can figure out what tactics you're going to use in order to achieve what you desire.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I just see so many people. I see so many people. What I would call, the term I'm going to use in the marketing space, is that they're pandering, right? So
Yes.
they're not. So
Yeah.
the thing that I like about what you're saying is that you're saying figure out where the marketplace is, segment the marketplace into ideally not just demographic segmentation, but needs-based segmentation.
Hmm.
This group of people needs A, B, C, but this group of people needs A, B, C, D. Oh,
Hmm.
and this other group over here doesn't need A at all. They just need B, C, D, F.
Yep.
EF or whatever. And
Yep.
so then you go, okay, well, if that's the segmentation, then I can go after this other group over here. It doesn't mean you need to speak. Doesn't mean you need to pander to them. You can just be like, hey, I'm here.
Hmm.
This group over here doesn't do this.
Yep.
I do this.
Hmm.
Which one works better for you?
Yes. Or you could be smart and be a manager of both teams. You could create two products that speak to two different segments, and you're making all the money. This is what Coca-Cola did.
Exactly.
Right? They made all these different. It's the same product. It's the same product, but they own everything, and they trick us to believe that it's all going to different companies, and these two companies are pinned up against each other. Fake rivalry makes so much money, and people, it's the history of marketing.
Yes.
Right. Let's pin these two. Let's divide the best way. Not the best way. I think it's so corrupt, but this is what politics does. By the way, they pin two sides because that's where money is. There's always money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
In the banana booth. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what made me think of when you started talking about politics? I was thinking of the Paul brothers.
Oh yeah,
because you said that you have the same thing, right? Like
Dude,
this
is intentional rivalry.
This is intentional rivalries. Yep.
I can't tell you, and if you don't believe so, I got some ocean property to tell you right in the middle of Idaho. Like I'm telling you, Paul brothers are marketing wizards. They literally are divided because you're like, I can't believe these two are brothers. You want them to meet, you want to be part of this story, you want them to kiss and make up, but they're doing this intentionally because it gets attention. Like they are attention wizards, man. And it's
they basically so whether or not you take take some of the three maybe four I'll give you four groups of people who are at the height of being able to capture attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll actually give you a contrasting one too. You take the Kardashians.
Yep.
You take the Paul brothers. You take, depending on the era that it occurred, you take WWE.
Yeah.
Back in my day, it was WWF. And then you take someone like Donald Trump. These folks know how to monetize attention.
Yep. Oh,
right?
Andrew Tate, you gotta throw him in there.
Oh, Andrew Tate's in there too. Oh, absolutely, he's in there.
Yeah.
And they monetize attention because they don't care if you're talking about them in a negative way or a positive way. They just care about whether or not you're talking to them. Now, most businesses cannot use that strategy because you don't want to create yourself as the heel as a business, because some people will say from a values position, I'm not buying from this company anymore. I don't like it. From an attention standpoint, though, if you can monetize it like these folks have, it's insane. So let's contrast that with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you reverse that, there's like Pat Nagodia, right? Like phenomenal business culture, right? They have and Taylor Swift Swifties, man, are the most craziest fans I've ever met in my life, man. They're the most dedicated fans, but Taylor Swift is so laser focused on bringing value to her fans.
Yep. That's the thing. She's bringing value to her fans, not just in my name is out there, I'm in your face. Not just that, but actually providing value in the product.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any of the products that like the Paul brothers are selling, or any of the products that Trump is selling, those products are not very good.
No.
They might be sensational. They might be like the fad of the week, but they're not good products. Yeah. So very interesting. Very interesting.
No, it is. I mean, to your point too, I think also, if you think about polarize on either side. So like the side of controversy makes a lot of money, or the side of super obsession. So it's like, if you're going to choose in your business which one you want to go with, I would absolutely lean towards super obsession on solving your, clientele or customers' problems and obsess over that like Taylor Swift does. Send them gifts.
Yep.
Like think about them all the time. Like, like those are some and here's the thing, like you don't got to do business better. You got to do business different. And in today's culture, in today's world, different means over attention to details.
Yes.
Different might mean I'm going to call you just to say how how's the family doing?
Yeah.
When's the last time someone that you've hired or something like that calls you? Be like, hey man, I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the difference, I think. And this is what happens with what I love about, if you ever heard of like Zappos or even Macy's, the story of Macy's with the employee that was in, I think, San Francisco, when someone came, a business person. This is a quick story, but this is the differentiator, right, of obsession. There, this man came to a Macy's, I think it's Macy's, and he was checking out some suits. He didn't really want to buy anything, but he was like, man, I'm already here. I'm about to hop on a flight, but it's gonna take a while. So like the employee was like, well, let's put on some stuff and like see how. He was very friendly. I tried on all these other stuff. And in fact, he was so friendly and so good at what he did that the man bought 3 suits and matching ties. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So he purchased it and then he hit his flight and then he forgot a tie. He forgot one of the ties, and the employee, and this is what I loved about the obsession back in the day with Macy's, is the employee actually packed that tie up, hopped on a flight because he knew the information, met him back at the house or at his home and said, hey, sir, you forgot your tie. So
no way.
that was a life-changing, powerful story of how obsessed it's, the customer relationship is, right? How much they cared. And this is what Macy's actually in the very beginning, I don't think they do this anymore, obviously, but this is how obsessed they were about their service. And that's what separated them from all the other clothing departments, is that now that person is a champion of the brand and is going to tell that story to everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're about to go an hour, and so I want to have you back on the show because I want to get deep into AI. But I still want to ask you about AI because I just want to get your lightning take. Like, what should people be using AI for right now? What AI should you be using? Which ones do you recommend? Like, just hit it.
Absolutely. You ever seen Terminator? No, I'm just kidding. Try that, baby. I'm gonna give you a few tips real quick and kind of give you a lens to use AI. And this is gonna be fun for you and me because we're big, fans of like Star Wars and stuff. I see AI as a C-3PO and as an R2-D2 over time, and that's the way we ought to use it right now through my lens. At least they are helpers. AI is tools. They're a vehicle. They're not gonna take over your job, right? Yet, but they can do a lot of things. It's just not there yet. And I know that you've had that conversation previously, but here's some quick tools that I think would absolutely help you. There's plugins on Google, Chrome that you could add. That's part. If you use like Google Worksheets or Workspaces and stuff like that, you could actually plug in. Just look it up. Google Chrome extension for ChatGPT or AI, right? It will actually help you in your extensions and stuff like that. There's a lot of AI extensions that you could add on now that's actually going to help you be more productive. And I think that's the problem. In fact, I think AI is a solution to combat the attention deficit disorder that we have here, with social media and all that stuff, because it's actually helping support us in our focus, where it's doing a lot of the heavy thinking for us and actually inspiring an ideation. So I also use it for content ideation. I don't use it to rip anything. I just want it to spark a thought. If I could use it to spark an idea, I could take it from there. I'm pretty good, but I have ADHD. So I'm just like, all right, I just need like a concept or something to help me. And that will help, produce all these things. If you want to use a practical tip where it comes to taking your videos and stuff, use Opus.pro. I think it's AI video chopper. So it will actually, you'll take a long form off of YouTube or a long form video that you created. Maybe you were on a Zoom call, a coaching call, or maybe you were on a team call with your company and you want to take that content, but you don't want to go through it, sift through it and find all those points. Use Opus AI or Opus Pro. It's opus.pro, I believe. And what you do is just put the link in there or put like the video, and AI will find all the golden nuggets, rank them from like 99 to like, 60, the worst. It will give you banger headlines right? And it will actually put captions in there for you, and you can edit it to your brand.
Wow.
It's pretty phenomenal. And it will create like 10, 15, 20 clips, micro clips from that. And they are fire. I use it all the time. And I always encourage clients to do it if they're trying to make choppy kind of micro content online, because again, we want to make different ports of entry, for the content. But there's a ton more that we could talk about. But I think those right now would be great for.
I'm actually like literally gonna go look at the Opus one, because I'm constantly looking for a way for me to produce more short form video faster.
Yeah.
Because like we just did an hour.
Mhm.
We talked about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of cool clips that can come out of this conversation.
Yeah.
But if I go through and try to find them all, it's going to take me 5 hours before I edit them all down, post them correctly, make sure
Test
they're
it
all
out. Publish them and tag me on it, bro.
Yeah, I will do it. That sounds phenomenal. Now, where can people find you if they want to say, hey, look, I want to grow my business? One of the ways that I'm really interested in growing my business is through getting my name out there in video and being a CEO who has something to say in the marketplace. Where can people find you?
Reach out to me at John Mediana everywhere. That's Mediana. I know media is my name. Also medium in Spanish too. Mediana, Mediana. John with an H, the proper way to spell it. But go check me out anywhere online. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I hang out everywhere. Go to our company's called executivebrandgrowth.com. Executivebrandgrowth.com. If you want to have a deeper conversation or hang out, schedule a 30-minute call like with me. I'll be on the call with you. You can do that on our website.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. John is a good dude. Go work with him. We'll close out the show there. I'll have him back on, by the way, because I want to get really deep into AI.
I can have you on my show too, bro.
I still wanted to talk to you about. So people get excited about things, and then their excitement wanes. So crypto is the big thing right now. It was NFTs. You were into NFTs, and I go, I bet you NFTs aren't dead. People just think they're dead because people aren't talking about them as much anymore.
Top of mind, bro. Like there's I always call bear markets build markets, so like it's in a building phase of test, learn, adapt. Yeah. And because it's not top of mind, no one like everyone's kind of healing from it. Yes. But for those that are building, it is revolutionizing industries right now. So
Okay, well, I'm going to have you back on. We're going to talk about that stuff because that sounds really good to me. So thank you for joining me. If you have any other marketing questions, please comment down below, and I'll either reach out to John and get them to him, or I'll answer them myself. Maybe on a future show, we'll get to them. So if you do me a favor, share this conversation with a friend. John brought a lot of wisdom into this conversation, so please share that with anybody who could use some of that marketing wisdom. If you find yourself in need of a fractional CMO, please shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and I'd be glad to give you a free consultation on what I might recommend for your business. I will listen to you, like John talked about earlier. I will listen, and we'll problem solve together about what we could do together to grow your business. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next show. And John will be on a future show because that was phenomenal. Thank you, John, for joining me. I appreciate it.
Let's go.
Bye.